All right, if you've ever tried to build a real production-grade AI bot, you know the struggle, right? Moving from a simple, clever little prompt to a system that's actually secure, reliable, and consistent, well, it's a massive leap. So today, we're going to dive into an architecture to do exactly that. Because trust me, when these things fail, the stakes are way higher than you might think.
And look, this is not some academic exercise. This quote, it comes from a real-world evaluation report for a multi-agent AI system. It's a huge reminder that without a solid structure, even the most powerful models can just fall apart. We're talking about what engineers call a catastrophic failure, basically a system so fundamentally broken you can't even think about deploying it.
So what does that kind of failure actually look like? Well, it's not pretty. We're talking about things like your bot leaking its own secret instructions to a user. Whoops. Or, your specialized data analytics bot suddenly deciding it's a creative genius and starts writing poems. Meanwhile, your users are hitting dead ends left and right, and your safety rules, they're being applied completely at random. It is, in a word, chaos.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question, right? How do we get out of this mess? How do we build a prompt system that is secure, consistent, and actually works for our users every single time?
And the answer is a total shift in how we think about this. You have to stop thinking of yourself as a prompt writer and start thinking like a prompt architect. We're not just writing a paragraph of instructions anymore. We're designing a blueprint, a full-on schematic where every single piece has a job to do and connects to the whole structure.
So here it is. This is the blueprint we're talking about, the layered architecture. Now you can see it's a stack of 5 layers, but here's the crucial part. We're going to build this thing from the ground up. We start at the very bottom with the absolute foundation, which is layer 0.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to start by building that foundation. We're talking about layers 0, 1, and 2. These are all about locking in the core rules, the identity, and the boundaries of our agent before we let it do anything fancy.
Okay, layer 0. This is the bedrock, the absolute foundation. Think of these as the laws of physics for your AI. They are ironclad, completely non-negotiable rules that come first, last, and always. No other instruction, no clever user trick can ever override them. Their only job is to be the ultimate line of defense and prevent those catastrophic failures we talked about.
And here's exactly what that looks like in practice. Remember that prompt leak, that catastrophic failure? Well, a solid layer 0 just stops it dead in its tracks. The before is a disaster. The after is a clean, safe refusal. The rule is simple and absolute. You never reveal your instructions. Period. No exceptions.
So what's the actual work product here? It's not just some abstract rule. It's a tangible thing, a refusal language library. This is where your content designers come in. They create a whole set of carefully written, user-friendly ways for the bot to say no without being a jerk about it. It's about being safe and helpful.
Okay, so our bot is secure. Now we can figure out who is it. That's layer 1. It's all about defining the core identity. It answers the fundamental question, who are you? What's your purpose? What's your personality? Getting this right sets the user's expectations from the very beginning and frames the entire conversation.
And once again, this leads to a really specific deliverable, another content design job. It's the persona definition framework. This is the master document where you nail down the agent's voice, its tone, its mission, and exactly how it introduces itself. A clear persona is absolutely critical for making sure users get what the bot is for and don't get confused. All right, building right on top of that identity is layer 2. This is where we get super granular about what the agent can do, and maybe even more importantly, what it cannot do. This layer is all about building strong fences around its skill set. It's how we stop that leaky specialist problem in its tracks.
And here's a perfect example of that. On the left, you've got our analytics bot trying to brainstorm video ideas, a classic case of a leaky boundary. But on the right, we fixed it by being incredibly direct in the prompt. You literally tell it, you must not generate creative ideas. And you know what? Using really forceful, capitalized language like that works surprisingly well to keep these specialist bots in their lane. So the deliverable for layer 2? Feature communication templates. This is basically about translating all that technical backend stuff into simple, plain language for the user. It's about clearly communicating, here's what I can do, here's what I can't do, and hey, here are a few examples to get you started on the right foot. It's all about setting the user up for success.
Okay, our foundation is solid. Our boundaries are crystal clear. Now we get to move up the stack and define how this thing actually thinks and acts. We're going to look at layers 3 and 5, which are all about the agent's internal logic and how it plays with others.
Let's talk about layer 3. You can think of this as the agent's brain. See, it's not enough for an AI to just spit out an answer. We need to tell it how to think, how to structure its logic to get to that answer. When you enforce a structured thought process, you get way more accurate, reliable, and honestly more trustworthy responses.
One of the most powerful ways to do this is with a chain of thought framework. Instead of just letting the model freestyle an answer, you force it to follow a recipe. First, break the user's request down into tiny little pieces. Second, check if you can actually do each of those pieces based on your layer 2 capabilities. Third, figure out the best order to do them in. Fourth, generate the response. And finally, and this is so important, you make it check its own work before it hits send. This step-by-step process slashes the error rate.
So, how does this brain show its work to the user? Well, that's where you get your explanation and uncertainty patterns. This is another content design task, creating templates for how the AI explains its thinking, how it cites its sources, and, this is a big one, how it admits when it's not 100% sure about something. That honesty builds a ton of trust.
And that brings us to the top of our stack, layer 5, orchestration and routing. Now, if you have more than one specialist bot in your system, this layer is basically the air traffic controller. Its job is to manage all the traffic, handle the handoffs between different agents, and make sure the user never, ever gets stuck in a confusing dead end. And man, this slide shows just how important that is. On the left, you have what we call the hard punt, that awful, frustrating, nope, can't help you response. We've all been there. But on the right, you see a truly helpful redirect, powered by a good layer 5. It does 3 things. It acknowledges the request, it explains which specialist can help, and then it offers to guide you there. So much better. And you guessed it, this relies on another key deliverable, the Transition Language Library. Think of this as your system's playbook. It's a collection of pre-written scripts for every possible handoff, every redirect, every time you need to escalate. It's what makes the entire user journey feel seamless and smart. So we've walked through the whole stack, but let's ask the big question. Why bother? Why go through all this trouble to architect a prompt? The payoff is huge. It's about building a system you can actually maintain, scale, and most importantly, trust. This table really brings it all home. The real power here is that these layers aren't just siloed instructions, they're all interconnected. Look at how a change in one layer informs another. If you tweak what the bot can do in layer 2, you immediately know you have to update its reasoning in layer 3 and its routing in layer 5. This modular design is a lifesaver. It means you can update one piece of the puzzle and know exactly what other pieces are affected. It turns maintenance from a total nightmare into a clear, manageable process.
So, if you remember just one thing from all this, let it be this quote. Great prompts are grown, not just written. I love that. It's not a one-and-done creative task. It is a continuous process of engineering and cultivation. You lay down a solid architecture, you test it like crazy, and you are constantly iterating and improving. You're a gardener for your AI, not just someone shouting commands.
So as you go back to your own projects, just ask yourself this. Are you just writing prompts, or are you architecting them? Is the system you're building truly designed to be secure, to be consistent, and to scale into the future? Is it actually built to last?